Hey, what's going on YouTube? So Ed here with Jack of All Trades, and I went and I did a thing. I was driving around out in the country a few days ago for work, and I happened across that. Picked it up for really cheap. The engine, there's no way the engine runs on it, so we're gonna have to get rid of that engine, but we're gonna do a multi-part video on this. We're gonna rip this thing right down to the frame. We're gonna clean it up. There's a bunch of welds on here that are highly questionable. I'm pretty sure that whoever welded that didn't really ever learn. They just got an old cheap Montgomery Ward Sears buzz box and made an attempt at stick welding. I emphasize attempt because they failed miserably, but it is what it is. The frame is there. It's fairly structural. It just needs a little love. So we're gonna get some love on this thing, and we're gonna do a multi-part video on it. We're gonna rebuild it, and we're gonna make this thing kind of fun. I've got a couple of engines back here behind me that we can use, so I've got engine options, and we're gonna make this fun little video and redo that go-kart. Now, if you like this channel and if you like this kind of content, please hit that like and subscribe button down there on the bottom. Ding that notification bell so that way every time I come out with a new video, you'll get notified of it. The more likes, the more comments, the more subscriptions I get, the more subscribers I get, the better the channel will do. So let's get started with this. That's enough talking. Let's break out the tools and let's start tearing this thing down. All right, so the first thing we got to do is we got to get this engine off. This thing has been sitting without an air box on it for I don't know how long, and getting all the weather and stuff, all the linkages on top of the carburetor are rusted up. So I'm just going to automatically assume that this thing is probably no good and I don't want to use it. So the first thing we got to do is let's get this Montgomery Ward 5-horse engine off of here. So I just realized something as I'm taking this engine off. There's still fuel in that tank. So whenever you're taking an engine off that you're not aware of, make sure you know if there's fuel in the tank or not, because if you tip that engine over, it's going all over your floor. All right, so now we can really get into the weeds of this thing and start taking a look at what we've got. So this was not a factory produced go-kart. This is quite obviously a home-built job. And honestly, for some of the home-built jobs that I've seen, this one isn't horrible. I've seen worse. The welds on some of the welds on here are a little suspect, but since I now know that this is a home-built job, I'm going to have to just make sure that this thing is structurally sound before I get too far. All right, so we got the tires off, engine's off. Now it's time to get that axle off. Definitely home-built material, because they just took, that's the brake return spring, and they just took the brake return spring and hooked it right around the frame. So I imagine it would help if I removed the brake cable. Whoa! Shibba tight! Well, it's time to break out the universal wrench. When you cut a nut off, it's hot. Don't touch it. Well, she's out. They went ahead and at least thought to put a safety feature in here, which was a cotter pin, or in some parts of the world, a nail. Cotter pin, nail, same thing, right? You may or may not be able to see that. That is a universal joint. Here's the cross. This is the universal joint cross right there. This is the actual universal joint off of the shaft, and they just turned it into a steering spindle and steering setup. Well, since I'm going to redo this whole steering system, wow, that is solid steel bar. So there we go. We got it basically down to a frame for the most part. A few things here and there that I still need to cut off and clean up. There's a bracket back there that was the throttle return spring. I'm going to cut that off and clean that up. And probably get this thing prepped up for sandblasting. The other thing I'm still going to cut off is that front axle, and I'm thinking that's going to need a torch, because, yeah, torch. And I think that's going to about do it for this video this week. Ed here with Jack of All Trades. Thanks for riding along, and we'll see you on the next video.